Hello, Red Wave. Welcome to Wearable Bulldogs podcast. My name is Caleb Nail. Joining me, friend, host, Caleb Pletz. Mr. Pletz, how are you?
Great. The CNC Football Factory rolls on. The Dogs are 2-0. Wasn't an easy road, but we are still here at 2-0, which is a good place to be.
Just so you guys know, if you have listened to the Get to Know, I apologize. That was on me, like usual. However, it was not internet. My computer just crashed. So we didn't get the full prediction and into the rivals when it came to Richie from Lockdown Sun Devils. But Richie, thank you for doing that. This is our preview now. I have turned everything over to Caleb. So now if there's internet problems, it's on him. I'm just going to go in and out of here, no problem with my internet, and it's not going to affect the thing. So Caleb can just talk.
Yep, he handed over the keys. I now have hosting privileges. So if, Caleb says something too crazy, we might just mute him from the show. We'll see.
That might be the best thing to happen to the show. Mute me. Well, thanks for tuning in. Today we're previewing the game against Arizona State this Saturday. Game time, I believe, is a 6:40 kickoff.
7:40.
7:40 kickoff. My goodness. I'm not used to that. I'm staying up late for that one. But we'll get into all the details later. Let's talk about Arizona State and for what we have learned from Richie. And we're going to get to the gonna make you sweat and everybody dance now and our keys to the game, and then we'll hit our final score predictions. Okay. Caleb, the record for Arizona State right now is 1-1. They beat Southern Utah by 3, and then they played Oklahoma State last week. They got beat. I will say, though, they were in that game for about half the game. And then adjustments happened. Van Gundy switched up quarterbacks on him. I didn't watch the whole game. I watched highlights of the game. And they ended up Oklahoma State ended up pulling away and winning that game. Anything that you want to talk about when it comes to schedule-wise for this team? I mean, they had a close FCS game like us, but they did lose their out-of-conference P5 matchup.
Yeah, I mean, their first game was crazy. I think it had a 2.5 hour or something like that delay for storms. So definitely not conventional. And then last week, tough loss to Oklahoma State, which is a good team, and they usually put together a competent team and are competing for a Big 12 championship. So definitely not an easy opponent. And Arizona State has a lot of new pieces this year. I mean, new coaching staff. I mean, like 40, 50 transfers coming in from the transfer portal. So they're definitely still trying to find, their identity as a team, find out who's going to be the playmakers. And so definitely got to give the early coaching edge again to Jeff Tedford and his staff because, they're experienced, Kenny Dillingham, the new head coach for Arizona State. I believe this is his first head coaching gig. So obviously, he's still, learning what it takes to be a head coach at the, Power 5 level. And so, like we saw in week 1 against Purdue, against a first-time head coach, I think we give the edge there to Coach Tedford with, hopefully having his team prepared. And, this is another big road, matchup for Fresno State and going into, a Pac-2, conference stadium. And just a big opportunity for Fresno State to continue to build on momentum.
Is there any coaching staff that you would say has more experience than our coaching staff to where we'd be at a disadvantage?
It's hard to think of any, at least on the West Coast, which is, kind of what we follow most. Right. I mean, I don't think the University of Washington staff has a coaching advantage. But, they're a very good program and have really good players. But, I mean, a lot of them, learned under Coach Tedford. So, I don't know if there is one off the top of my head. I mean, I'm sure there might be.
My first thought was Wyoming.
Yeah, I mean,
Coach Cole, right?
Bull's been there for a long time, so yeah, at least in terms of years, I guess, when Rocky Long was at New Mexico, he'd been in the Mountain West for a long time with San Diego State and New Mexico, and now he shipped off to Syracuse. So, yeah, I think for sure in the Mountain West, I put Coach Tedford and his staff up
Yeah.
against
Yeah. Moral of the
anyone.
story is we have the coaching staff.
Absolutely.
Players that we need to look out for. I think we talked all about that with Richie, so go check that out. He did a great job. But I'm most interested in seeing who plays quarterback. Rashada, the true freshman, who is most likely going to play quarterback. However, because he's a true freshman, do we see their transfer, Drew Pine, come in, who played at Notre Dame last year? Is he cleared? Is he going to play? Richie said he'd most likely play if he's healthy. So who are we going to get an entirely different look at Arizona State? It's, poor timing for us if that's the case, but I don't think it matters really. I think they're all. I'll say this: Drew Pine is not as a threat on the ground as Rashada, and so if that is the case, if Pine's in there, I think we can just blitz like heck and not worry about contain.
Yeah, I had the same thought. It seems like Rashada is, more, mobile and a threat to run, which has, been challenging for the Dogs facing that against other opponents. And, Pine is more of a traditional quarterback pocket passer who, maybe if he's able to just, pinpoint a lot of accurate throws and is able to, lead a, solid drive down the field, that could be dangerous too. But yeah, I kind of like the chances against, just the pocket passing quarterback rather than the guy that's mobile. But at the same time, the Dogs do have two games of film on Rashada, so I'm sure they can pick up some tendencies there. So I think both ways, I think it's okay. I think it's more dangerous usually when the quarterback that the defense doesn't have a ton of information on is the mobile one. And so I think that this does set up okay for Fresno State. And I'm sure Coach Coyle has, watched all the film and going to have everything, ready for this defense.
Yeah. And I think where we should start to is talking about the inconsistency of the football team right now. What Fresno State team is going to show up? And you could almost say the same thing for Arizona State. They looked fine first half against Oklahoma State. Rashada had a couple mistakes, but then they couldn't keep up for the rest of that game. But what Fresno State team is going to show up? Now, we know this defense is going to show up every week, and they have been. I mean, granted, I in conversations I've had, Purdue scored 34 points on us. We gave up quite a bit against Eastern Washington. My argument to that is they were on the field most of the game. That's tough. What Fresno State team is going to show up? I believe our guys learn from this, and we know they're fired up to prove the red wave and the people in Tempe wrong, because I think there's a little bit of confidence from Arizona State fans right now. Granted, they just had a 3-point win over an FCS school, but this was more recent. But there's a little more confidence, coming from the opposing teams when looking at this Fresno State team. Oh, maybe they're not all that they're cracked up to be. What are your thoughts on this? I'm really expecting a different team to come out.
Yeah, I think on the defensive side, I would expect them to be motivated. And, we heard in the coach's press conference this week that Cam Lockridge is, going to be, back, full, participant in the game after, serving his 1/2 suspension on Saturday. So I think that's good. So having him back with Carlton Johnson, just locking down that corner is going to be important because, if you listen to the Get to Know episode, Richie shared their strongest position group, in his opinion, was their wide receivers. So they have weapons on the outside. So I think that's going to be a huge key to this game is how is Fresno State corners able to lock down, the Arizona State weapons on the outside. So I'm liking the fact that Lockridge is going to be back. I know that there was potential injury on the defensive line, but I think we're feeling pretty good about depth there. So overall, I think our defense is going to be there to show up. But yeah, I'm curious to see how that translates to points on the board, because going into Purdue, we were expecting low scoring game, and it ended up being the opposite. And so when we talked to Richie, he was expecting a low scoring game too, with Arizona State offense not really being able to produce a ton of offense. So yeah, I'm curious to see which Fresno State defense shows up. Is it the one from last season that was stellar down the end of the season and really limiting points on the board, or is it the team that showed up in the first two games and giving up 30 points is very, very possible.
Yeah. You mentioned injuries. We did have a question on social media about Damian Moore, the running back from Cal, and Malik Sherrod. We don't know too much about the injuries. Reason being is because they don't say anything about these injuries. And but I will say Malik Sherrod is still listed as the number one. So, and he didn't play last game, but he's still listed as the number one. So when it comes to the running back position, Fresno State running back position, I trust who's ever there. I really like Gilliam. I think is going to do a great job. Shoot, Devin Rivers had a couple great runs as well. I like our running backs. I'm excited to see what exactly happens there, and hopefully our guys are getting healthy soon. And if they show up, it's a bonus. If our injury guys show up, it's a bonus.
Yeah.
The last thing I'll say about this game before we move into our Gonna Make You Sweat and Everybody Dance now, Caleb, is if there is a sandstorm, I want my money back. I'm not sitting through a 2-hour sandstorm in the stadium.
Yeah, I mean, if that happens, you got to think that most of the Sun Devil fans are going to clear out, and it'll probably just be the Fresno State fans that are left over. Because obviously, if Bulldog fans are making the trip all the way there, they aren't going to let some sand get in their way. So I guess maybe make sure you have some sunglasses or goggles, I guess, so that way you're prepared to deal with the elements.
All right. Well, before we get to Gonna Make You Sweat, something that definitely doesn't like sand is flowers, Caleb. And Flora Flower Co. is a sponsor of this show. Flora Flower Co., a local flower shop, modern, unique, who supports local growers. All their flowers are local. And it's a one-stop shop for gifts. They have it all. Store hours, Monday through Saturday, 10 to 6 p.m. on Shepherd and Willow. You can order flowers online for pickup or come in person. There's a florist in the store that will help you create something special. There are subscriptions that you could sign up for, and those subscriptions come with free delivery. Use code Fresno15 at checkout when you check out online. Fresno15 for 15% off, and that lets them know that Beware of Bulldogs sent you. Thank you, Flora Flower Co. All right, Caleb.
Everybody dance now.
Everybody dance now. What in this game will make you dance? Or what needs to happen in this game that will make you dance?
So I think what I am most looking forward to in the dance potential is going to be on special teams. So I know that this is going to be yours, but I'm looking at our punter, Carson King, and we've had a couple lackluster performances this far. And so I'm sure he has heard it from a lot of the coaches, and I'm sure he's hearing it from fans and teammates too, that we just need to get a good kick on the ball to give the defense a chance to defend in decent field position. So I'll be dancing if Carson King has 0 shanks and is able to average like 45 yards a punt. That's what I'm looking for.
Right. Or at least if they're not 40 some yards, at least he's pinning them.
Yes.
Within the 20.
Yes.
I agree. A solid special teams performance, and I will feel great. You know where I'm sticking, Caleb. Kickoff return for a touchdown. I'm definitely dancing. I'll be out of my seat dancing in the stadium. You might as well pull out the cameras then if it happens. But something else other than special teams, I want a solid running game. And so what I'm gonna do is I think I'm gonna put some yards and a touchdown behind that. I would like to have one player over 100 yards with 2 touchdowns.
Okay.
And if that's the case, then I'll be dancing, because for the people that have been around for the past couple of years while we do this, they know I like the smash mouth football. And when we do that, that means we're beating the heck out of the other team at the line of scrimmage. They're tired, and they know that we're their daddy.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think that's something that Fresno State was able to run the ball against Purdue, at least, later in the game, to really control, the pace of the game and, control the line of scrimmage. So, yeah, I think that's a huge, huge key for, this Fresno State offense to be able to, play balanced, which I know is something that the coaching staff routinely says that they want to be balanced, not relying on either running or passing too much. So, yeah, that's definitely worth dancing.
Yeah. And I chose that, but it's not one of my keys to the game. So I'm trying to switch it up. I'm trying to stay different here. Another thing that would make me dance, Caleb, is if we force at least 3 turnovers. We've seen an interception from Lavelle Bailey in overtime. We've seen them force fumbles, not hopping on them all the time. But they're right there. We are there. The opportunities are there. We just have to take advantage of them. And if we can force a true freshman, if he gets the start, or Drew Pine, who hasn't played yet this year with this team in a regular season game, if we can force them into some tough situations, put them under pressure, I believe it can be done where we force 3 turnovers and get the defense back into the swing of things. And so on top of the 3 turnovers, because, if I'm going to dance, it better be really good. So we're going to force at least 3 turnovers, and we need to hold them under 2 touchdowns.
Okay.
So, they could score 17 points or 20 points or whatever, but kicking all field goals. That's fine with me. But I want to hold them under 2 touchdowns and force 3 or more turnovers. And I'll be dancing for all of those reasons that I just listed.
Yeah, I think, basically the way you set that up makes a lot of sense. And, Fresno State fans are familiar with the Arizona State offensive line coach, former coach of Fresno State, Saga Tuatelli, who, Fresno State offensive line struggled last season with him at the helm there. So, in talking to our new friend from Arizona State, Richie, he wasn't feeling too confident about the Arizona State offensive line. And they're dealing with injuries too. Their right tackle just suffered a leg injury last week and is going to be out indefinitely. So definitely look for that, Fresno State defensive line to create the pressure against a young, inexperienced quarterback to, create turnovers. And I know that, early in the season, Coach Coyle said that that's something that was, a focus of this defense going into the season, was being able to create turnovers. And that was something kind of lacking last season. So this kind of has the makeup, the formula to, be that kind of game where the defensive line is able to, put pressure on the quarterback and force him into bad decisions.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We know what's one thing that make you dance? Wine.
Some Givali wine. Yes.
Some Givali wine. One of our sponsors for Boyer Bulldogs this year is Givali Winery, located on Biola, just north of Shaw. So if you're in Fresno or Clovis, head west, take Shaw and go west and make a right on Biola. They are open Saturdays and Sundays, noon to 5, and on weekdays by appointment only. Also, if you want to throw a party, they throw parties. So if you're looking for a place to throw a private event, they do that as well. They have all their grapes are locally grown. All their wines are locally grown grapes, I should say. And they also have a brick oven pizza. What is it, Caleb? Real fire. Real wood fire, not gas. Right. And it's a homemade recipe. It's great. So check out Givali Winery for the best wines and best brick oven pizza. Thank you, Givali Winery. All right, Caleb.
As an expert on sweat and sweating, I may as well be a sweat scientist.
All right, sweat scientist, what is going to make you sweat this Saturday?
So I'm going to be sweating when, or I should say if, because hopefully it's an if. Fresno State starts slow and/or is backed up in their own territory, and the punting situation is questionable, and giving Arizona State good field position, because that's really what kept Purdue in the game, was just getting good field position and poor special teams play. So I'm gonna be sweating if we see a repeat performance, a third game of questionable special teams and slow start, not being able to control field position. That'll have me sweating early in that first quarter.
That is definitely a reason to sweat. Slow start and special teams. And the reason being is because that's what has been our problems in the past. And if we're not getting better at that, now teams know where to take advantage of us. And I don't like being taken advantage of. That's for sure. I'm going to sweat. I'm going to go to the defensive side of the ball. I'm going to sweat if we're getting beat deep. And there's two things. There's another thing I'm going to add to that. So I think that one of the things we can do is put a lot of pressure on Rashada, true freshman, but he likes to throw the deep ball, and he has the arm to do it. He's got a cannon. Go check out the highlights of the Oklahoma State game. He can do it. And if he's connecting on that and we're getting beat deep, because we did get beat against Eastern Washington, and Arizona State's wide receivers are good as well. Mm-hmm. So if we're getting beat deep, they're going to connect a couple times. And I don't like big plays, big chunk plays. I don't like that. The other thing that could happen is that if we are blitzing and forcing Rashada outside the pocket and not containing him, now that opens us up to the quarterback running the ball, which Rashada can do that as well. So if we're blitzing and not getting to the quarterback and he's able to move and get outside the pocket and advance the ball down the field, whether that being through the air or with his feet, I'm going to sweat. If we are blitzing and leaving our corners in one-on-one coverage, or we're playing cover one and getting beat and he's connecting, I'm going to sweat a little bit. So basically what I'm saying is that if we're going to bring pressure, we better get to him quick and we better hit him hard and let him know that we're going to keep on coming. You know that line in Remember the Titans when he's talking about, we're going to blitz all night. That too, strong side. And then he hits, Gary Bertier hits him and then runs over to the coach and points at him. That's what we're going to do. And then Julian Campbell, I just love this movie. He says, you better get used to this little boy, laying on his back. So that's what we need to do to the true freshman Rashada. Otherwise, I'm going to be sweating. So
yeah, I think you make a good point about getting to him quickly, because Fresno State safeties have not been proven yet. Dean Clark, I think, is a good player, but on the other side, it's still a huge question mark. I mean, Fresno State's rotated 4 guys at that position. So if the defensive line is able to get to Rashada quickly, that is less likelihood of whoever is playing safety at that point being out of position or not being in a place to make a play. So yeah, good point there.
All right. Let's see. Next on the docket is our keys to the game, Caleb. But before we get to the key to the game, when it comes to keys and you own property or you want somebody to help you out with your property, you need to talk to ManageX. Caleb, talk to the people about ManageX.
That's right. Yeah. ManageX is local full service property management company. They service single family homes, apartments, office, and industrial properties too. So if you're a landlord, you need help managing property, look no further than ManageX. So look them up on their website, managex.net, and there's all the information on there about how to get connected with them, and so that way they can help you and handle the keys in your house.
Keys to the game, Caleb. That was good. We're getting slowly we're getting better at this. Keys to the game, Caleb. I'll start with this one if you don't mind. Yeah. So I have 2, and they're both on the offensive side of the ball. Arizona State was susceptible to quick passing plays against Oklahoma State. And that's what we need to do. And specifically, in my opinion, is once they focus on Trey Watson. This is what I want to say. Focus on Trey Watson. Short passing plays to Trey Watson, because I have not seen a single person on the football field that can guard that man. He's unguardable. Not to mention our 3 wide receivers, Gil, Brooks, and Magdalena, are very quick. You would label them as slot receivers. They should thrive against this defense from what I've seen. So let's throw the ball. I would say under 5 yards each play. Slant routes, bubbles. Get our guys in space to go make a play, because Arizona State hasn't proven that they can stop that. Then once that's happened, also, by the way, reminder, no one can guard Trey Watson. Once that's happened, then I believe that opens up the running game, and that's when Gilliam can really do his damage, and Devin and whoever's out there, they can really do damage once we spread out the field, and their linebackers are terrified of Trey Watson because no one can guard Trey Watson. So once that happens, the running game opens up. So my key is different from my everybody dance now. When I talk about running, my key to the game is let's start in the short passing game to open up the everybody dance now and let's to run the ball.
Yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, you're probably watching me nod my head for like a minute straight there, just because I had written down pretty much the same thing. I just said keep it simple on offense. It seemed like maybe got a little too complicated last week against Eastern Washington, but just the short intermediate passing game is where Fresno State had success against Purdue. Let's just go back there. We have really reliable targets in Eric Brooks and Trey Watson. Just feed those guys. They're going to be able to get open in the middle of the field. Just keep it simple. Hit a bunch of those, then that'll get the run game going. So, yes, we are definitely thinking in sync here. The defense, I think key is, I'm a little nervous to say it, but I think it's going to be the safety play, just because of, how highly touted the receivers for Arizona State are, just according to our friend Richie. So, I think if, Dean Clark and safety number 2, whether that's Comstock or Kosi Agina or Krishan Gordon or Cam Braca, whoever it is, they're going to need to play a very good game in terms of not letting anything, get too deep behind them and being able to, clean up some of the tackles too. So I think safety play is going to be big, and, we're still kind of looking for that, guy to step up, in that position.
Yeah, defensively, I'm going to go with attack the quarterback and the right side of that line. So, or if they've moved guys around, attack the weak point in that offensive line. Their right tackle is going to be out. The second string better get used to Devo Bridges real quick because he's coming after him.
That's right.
And I want that to happen. The reason I say that is because we need to get pressure on the quarterback. Young quarterbacks it is very rare that you can perform under pressure when you're getting hit every other play. I don't know if you saw the clip of Geno Smith and Aaron Donald highlight. Aaron Donald comes free through the middle of the line, which he does most of the time. But Geno Smith said some choice words. He was mic'd up. You could hear him, and he just threw the ball into the ground. That's what it's like for a true freshman quarterback when a Devo Bridges is running full speed at you.
Right.
Put the pressure on him, force him to make bad throws. And we've talked about this already, but I think that is really the key on the defensive side of the ball, because a lot can happen from those things. Tipped balls, bad decisions, sacks. So a lot of good things for the defense when we put pressure on a young quarterback. Any other keys to the game that you can think of? Oh, kick the ball really far. Kick the ball really far.
Yep, definitely.
All right. Before we get to our weather and TV and spread and predictions, Caleb, I need to tell you about the Vine Church in Fresno. The Vine Church is located on Shaw, just west of Grantland. We talk about supporting and strengthening our community. This is part of my community. My wife and I attend church here. We love this community. We would drive past it often. We tried it out. Everyone was so kind, so welcoming. The pastor spoke biblical truth. Then we were invited over to the pastor and his wife's house for lunch. I mean, the second time we showed up, that was great. People love to share meals. We have a potluck once a month. It's great. We've been attending ever since. Sundays, 10 a.m., the Vine Church in Fresno on Shaw, just west of Grantland. All you need is yourself. However, I will not be there this Sunday because I will be in Arizona. But every other Sunday, most of the time, I will be there. The pastor found out, Pastor Greg, great guy, found out I was doing this, and he said, "Here you go. Here's a mic. You're doing announcements now." And it's not good, Caleb. I am not doing too well, but we're learning. So anyway, the Vine Church, supporter of Fresno State and Boyer Bulldogs. So thank you guys. All right, Caleb, what does the weather look like? Am I going to be breathing in dirt in Arizona?
At least in the forecast I'm looking at, no. It will be a hot one, though. We got a high of 104 there in Phoenix on Saturday. There is, a slight wind. Looks like out of the southeast, only 6 miles per hour, though, so that's good. Shouldn't be too humid. Thankfully, it's a desert and a dry heat. So, everything that Fresno State fans are used to. So, shouldn't be too bad there. Like you mentioned earlier, 7:40 p.m. kickoff, a late one. TV-wise, Fox Sports 1. The fan favorite Petros Papadakis, probably said that wrong, but he'll be on the call, and he usually gives some love to Fresno State, so I do appreciate that. And then on the radio side, Paul, Pat, and not Cam this week. We got Wiggins on there on the sideline reporting there, so they'll be on Fox Sports 1340 and on iHeart, where you can check them out.
I don't think Cam has a voice now. I don't know if you heard his reaction when Lavelle picked off had the interception. It's probably why Kenny's feeling.
Exactly. Cam needs a bye week to catch up. So, but I'm sure there's going to be a big red wave contingent here in Phoenix, because if the CNC Football Factory is hitting the road and going to an away game, then I think that there's a lot of other red wavers that are going to make it there. So, yes, we are both looking forward to being there in Sun Devil Stadium. I don't even know what it's called. I think they have some credit union sponsor. So we're looking forward to
soon.
Exactly. So we are looking forward to it. Points wise, Fresno State is surprisingly favored in this game by 3 points. I know this. I was not expecting this coming in
right now.
Yeah, and Fresno State opened as a favorite. Point total over under is only 50.5. So not too many points they're projecting. And Fresno State favored on the road by 3 points. So what are your thoughts there, Fresno State being favored?
Oh man. Removing all my biases, I would say Fresno State should be favored because of the young team and the performances that Arizona State has put together. I think Fresno State is deserving of that 3 points. And I would leave it at 3 points because we didn't show to be any more than that against Eastern Washington. So now I do believe that I would pick, if I was a betting man, I would pick Fresno State at -3 just because of the defense and the experience that we have compared to their offense. I would take that. Now the over-under is also it's understandable because we struggled against Eastern Washington. Mm-hmm. It took us a long time to get going. And Arizona State is the same way. However, I am going to take the over on this. And the reason being is because I watched Arizona State's defense against Oklahoma State. And I think that we have the pieces to match up well against this Arizona State defense. We have quick wide receivers that can get open and in that short and intermediate passing game. I believe that. Oh, and no one can guard Trey Watson, by the way. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be big for us and scoring the ball. And I think that's going to open up a lot of things for us. So I know I do the fun stuff. I'm taking Fresno State at -3, and I'm going over. Of course. Who would
Okay,
ever take?
what's your final score prediction?
Oh gosh, I'm gonna go 35-21 Dogs.
Okay, so comfortable 2-score victory. Oh, and on cue, group of 5 Wi-Fi kicks in, and we lose Caleb. So for me, predictions this week going into this game, I'm looking at this being a higher scoring game than maybe the point total would suggest. I'm not confident in Fresno State safeties, frankly, to be able to contain the wide receiver core for Arizona State. So I think it's going to be higher scoring. I do think Fresno State is going to come away victorious here. I have the score at 31-28 in favor of Fresno State. So I guess that would be a push there. So no, neither team is covering, and I think this one's going over because I don't think Fresno State defense is quite there yet to where they're going to be keeping teams to under 20 points. So final score prediction for me: Dogs win 31-28.
Okay, that feels a little more comfortable and doable than what I said, but I think the Dogs can score a lot of points this game. I do believe that. And as long as the defense, gets a little bit better, and I think they can have things going in their favor, we're going to be just fine. Caleb, on the get to know, we missed the end of where Richie said to go. Do you remember where Richie said to go when we go to Arizona?
All right. Yeah. He mentioned a couple places. He said there's some great Mexican food there that he recommended. The place was called Ajo Owls. I think I probably wrote that down wrong, but it's something like that. He said it's the best Mexican food he's ever had, which, obviously we have good Mexican food here in the Central Valley. So, yep. So he said, if you're looking for, the party crowd, they're going to be on Mill Street. I guess that's where a lot of the bars and good times are. And then he said, if you're looking for some ghetto roller coasters, those are his words. He said there's a place called Castles and Coasters, and I've actually driven by it like on the freeway and times I've been in Phoenix, and it's a little sketchy looking mini amusement park, which does look kind of interesting. So those were his recommendations.
How could it be much different from the Fresno Fair?
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds like home. Okay, one more time because I'm not going to remember all those. Ajo Owl?
Ajo Owls. I think that's what he said. I'm going to have to go search on Yelp to try to find it. But so really good Mexican food. And then, Mill Street is, I guess, where all the college kids hang out and like to have a good time. And then Castles and Coasters is the attraction. So, but hopefully you'll be at the game with us. We will be there. So definitely let us know where you're going to be sitting, and we'll look out for you. But should be a great time. Red Wave should travel well, and Dogs should have a really good opportunity to win this game against a Power 2 team or Power 5 team in the Pac-2. Sorry.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. We will see you next time on Sunday at 7 p.m. We're going live on YouTube and Twitter, and Caleb's recording, so we
might have to have you record that one because I'm going to be driving home at that time. Hopefully I'm home by then, but if not, I might be joining from the road.
Well, you know what? I'm staying at my sister-in-law's house for that exact reason, so I have internet. So
perfect. Okay,
we'll be okay now that I think. All right, thank you guys for all the support. Also, great turnout at the tailgate. Thank you once again for all that. That was a lot of fun meeting you guys, and we owe some guys cornhole match.
We do. Yes,
I got to practice. And shout out to our listeners in Thailand. All right. Well, we met some. That was wild. Thank you guys so much for your support. Stay safe, stay healthy. God bless. We'll see you in Arizona. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.